Thanks for joining us today. My name is Joe Lombardo. I am the Senior Director of Product Support here at ConnectWise. Today I am joined by David Racaport, our Chief Product and Technology Officer, Jeff Bishop, EVP and GM of Product, Kieran Chu, VP and GM of ScreenConnect, Patrick Beggs, our Chief Information Security Officer, and Jason Ferguson, Senior Director of Information Security. Like to take some time to answer some questions. We really appreciate everyone joining us today. And to go ahead and kick us off, I will pass things over to David to give us a brief summary.
Thank you, Joe. Thanks for the opportunity to speak with you guys and give you some background and context on what the issue is that we disclosed and what has created this additional work and action for you guys. So first and foremost, just want to make sure that it is really clear that the issues around the certificate update are not due to a product vulnerability. I've seen questions and I've gotten questions about that. These are very unrelated issues. So now let's talk about what the issue is. The original issue that was found that invalidated one of our certificates that required us to do an update was really around the ability to leverage features that we had put into the installer, which is to allow the use of a buffer area insert to provide for customizations during the installer experience. This really, where we passed configuration information for the agent to replace some data, some parameters on install. There was the potential to use this for malicious purposes in order to redirect a URI to download malware. That was reported. It meant that the original certificate was revoked and invalidated. We went ahead and made changes to the installer where we moved those configurations and personalizations out of the buffer area. We moved them to a file. As we released that update, another researcher reached out and reported the issue that while it addressed the issue in the certificate itself, it still provided the opportunity that somebody could use that installer for malicious intent. Now, as part of the original update, we actually made changes to the installer, so if the MSI was modified, it would notify you that it had been tampered with. However, there was a path where somebody could take that MSI, deconstruct it, and use the files in a zip file and start to distribute those files and make them look like they were actually an installer from ConnectWise. That would go down the same path of allowing for the potential for misuse of the installer for the spread of malware. Once again, that report meant that our certificate was invalidated and we were then on the clock to provide another update. As we assessed all the possibilities of how we could address this once and for all, it came down to one thing and one thing only. The only way to fully avoid this problem for the time being is to remove any customization during the install process. Part of what was reported to us and part of the security concerns that were raised by our certificate authority and Microsoft was that we also used a common certificate to sign all of the installers that were being distributed for on-premise installations of ScreenConnect. That is, while not a security hole, is a concern because it allows for a single installer with a single certificate to be distributed maliciously. And we had to address that as well. And the only way to address that is to have a per partner signature and certificate for the installer. That would mean that if somebody got their hands on your particular installer and tried to reuse it, at the time of install, the certificate would identify itself as having come from you, not ConnectWise. That would automatically create an additional layer of security and assurance for that distribution. So that's how we got to where we are. So what have we done to date? We have removed all the relevant customization from the client for on-premise and cloud. That means at the time of install, customization is not currently allowed. We are working on a longer-term solution to add those capabilities or some of those capabilities back in. But given the specific time frame, the very small time window that we had, that was not possible to do safely to ensure that we did not create any other problems. So all customizations have been removed. We've also removed many of the web customizations that could be used for things such as branding and background images. Once again, we plan on adding those capabilities back in, but we had no choice but to remove that for the time being. What does it mean for you? It means for you, for all partners using on-premise products, you have to get your own code signing certificate in order to provide that authentication and assurance that the installer is valid and has not been tampered with. We have provided documentation and steps on how to acquire that certificate and how to go through the process of signing that distributable installer that now is signed with your certificate. That is available now. The new build 25.4.25 is available for that. We've also released code signing extensions, version 1.06, not the previous 1.04. That is also available right now for you to leverage. As we continue, we will make additional capabilities available, as I mentioned, for customization and personalization for the installer, but that is not available right now. Those are the steps that led us to take the actions and the sequence of things that led us to take the actions that we have. And those are the changes that we've had to make for the installer in order to meet our commitment and compliance to our certificate authority and Microsoft with programs that they put in place to allow signed software to be installed on that OS, and to also ensure that we've provided you an additional layer of security to ensure that your customers are not being impacted by threat actors trying to spread malicious software. All right, Joe?
Thank you, David. Jeff, have you had anything to add to that summary?
Yeah, sorry. I was trying to scan through some of the questions as they were coming in. I think a few things that I'm seeing. First would be there's questions about the customizations. We have removed all the ones that we think a malicious actor could use to do anything nefarious, to try to trick people into downloading the agent and putting it on their machine so they could take advantage of that situation. The questions are we going to get those back? What's the go forward look like? And go forward looks like we're going to sit down and try to figure out ways to do this to protect the end users, but also to give you some of those customizations when we can. We're going to look at different ways to implement those validation checks and things that we can do along the way. I was also seeing a few things about what can we do if we can't get the code signing going. I think Kieran will touch on this a little bit before we finish up, but we are making our cloud available for people to go in and consume and use, either if that's where you just want to be and you just haven't made that move, or if you just want to do it for days or a week or so while you're waiting to go through the certification process to get that code signing done. A few other things come up, like when we send out our code, the actual what gets installed on the server and on-prem, we're signing. It's just now then you get the agents that you can take outbound to those endpoints. And those are what we're asking you to sign as you take it out, because you have the ability to customize and change those as they go. And that's what the malicious actors have been kind of taking advantage of, changing the URL names or changing the logos or the icons and trying to trick people and saying, hey, I'm really X company. You should trust me. We've all seen the scams on YouTube where people come out and say they're Microsoft or whatever that may be. And how do they trick people into giving them access to credentials, get on the computer, and then once they're on the computer, this is sort of a done deal. I saw one question about doing this. How does it protect against a malicious actor using my instance? Well, it's not really it's not apples to apples. What we're seeing and what the security researchers are seeing is that people have gotten access to our on-prem installers over the years. They've decompiled it. They've tried to change the license callback to us. They've done all kinds of nefarious things. And in doing so, they then try to get that agent pushed out to customers. And they could use that buffer area. They could use the ability to change the icons to try to trick people. If it's your instance and you have control of that environment, no risk, right? You have that environment, you have that on-prem, you've signed those agents, you've pushed it out. As long as that server that you're hosting your ScreenConnect on is secure, no problems. This isn't an attack at your instance, assuming that everything is secure. It's people utilizing their own instances in a bad way. And again, because it's on-prem, it could have come into us and looked like a legitimate purchase, but then people post these things onto different social media forums and take it out from there. If we had 100% capability of identifying every one of our on-prem customers and knowing this is a legitimate company inside the time window we had, we could be talking about how we could try to handle some of this code signing. We cannot. It's just unfortunate with the timing coming back from the code. And we'll continue to try to expand upon this and try to make it easier for people. We've created a ton of documentation that Joe's, like a lot of your team has helped create based off the questions and feedback. So those are some of the things I'm seeing in here, and I'm sure we'll get to some other questions as we go.
Thank you, Jeff. Before we get into those questions, just a quick reminder, there are some resources at the bottom of the window here. There's a link to an FAQ. That FAQ document is going to be consistently updated with the questions that we get here and from the rest of our partner base. So we'll be updating that with some of our common questions. So please check there as well. For if you don't see or hear your answer here today, please check back frequently for that. So with that, we'll go ahead and start with some of the questions. So we'll start with the first one here. When setting up the Azure Key Vault for ScreenConnect, do we require a managed HSM pool to be operational 24/7? That one's on the bit technical side. I don't know, Jeff, I don't know if you want to jump into that one.
I'll try it out. I think the answer is you don't need the HSM Key Vault. You just need the Key Vault. I think it's something we can get posted on the university of, I'm looking at screenshots of both. I just need to make sure that we update the navigation. So if you're in there looking around, look for a standard Key Vault, not the HSM certified. This should be, I saw that post fly through pretty quickly. I think somebody said like thousands of dollars a month. This should be dollars a month, not even tens or hundreds of. So utilizing the Azure Key Vault, not the HSM. Okay.
Thank you. Next question. Are these same changes going to happen to on-premise Automate instances? And if so, is there a timeline?
I'll start with that, and guys jump in. The first off, Automate is separate from the ScreenConnect instance. So if you're thinking is this impacting Automate? No, doesn't impact RMM. We've separated all these now into their own code signing certificates. The other aspect of it, if you're talking about your on-prem ScreenConnect that is attached to your Automate, then yes, it is. There's very little distinction between the on-prem ScreenConnect that's attached to Automate versus a standalone ScreenConnect on-prem for our partners who may not be using our RMM solution. So yes, everything is the same for both of those situations.
All right. Next question. Any idea when cloud versions will be updated to the latest release, specifically 25.4.20? Kieran, can you speak to that?
Yeah, so the latest, just to correct, the latest version is 25.4.25. The cloud will be updated post the weekend. It's currently in test now. The reason that it's not running to the same time frame as the on-premise piece is because the certificate that we've got for the cloud does not have a drop dead date to be replaced on Monday. So the way that we're going to roll out the cloud is going to be via the usual BAU process. So we're going to try and do it out of hours for everyone to minimize the impact. We will obviously make sure that we communicate to you ahead of time. The thing to obviously be aware of is the customizations will be removed. So there will be a user impact to that, but the expectation is it will be from Monday onwards. Okay.
Thank you. All right. Next question. Do we need to reinstall all clients? Kieran?
Jeff.
I
can take that one real quick. I was responding to one on the chat real quick, but yes, all the clients or the agents that are deployed out to your endpoints need to be updated. I'm assuming we're talking about the on-prem. So yes, once you get the new build, you do the signing, then you would do the auto deployment out to all the different endpoints. We always recommend that you start with a handful of the agents that you deploy to or out to those endpoints to make sure everything's working correctly as you expect, everything calls back in, and then deploy out to the rest.
Thank you. Let's see here. Next question. Can you provide a guide for using a code sign cert on a USB token?
The answer is probably yes, we can go into it. It's a hardware token. I'm not sure exactly how all the different scenarios that we're talking about in our documentation, but I know the people that are pinging me on the side, they're hearing this. And one of them is the lady that runs that documentation area for us. So, she can help us get that done. So yes, we'll take that and see what we can do for you.
Okay, thank you. Next one, on-prem Automate customers need some kind of guide or a process to convert to the cloud. If they're contacting sales or support, are they prepared to answer and be responsive? I could take part of that. I can say that our support teams and back office teams are prepping up to help and assist our partners who are going to go through that process. And we do have some documentation to provide to make that process a bit more smooth. But we have all hands on deck and ready to assist through that process.
Joe, the bit I would just add to that for everyone. So two pieces. Number one is we are standing up a separate URL, which is a trial form for Automate customers. Why that's important is two reasons. Number one is it basically gives you the same features and parity that you have on premise. And to be clear, even if you want to remain on premise and you just can't get hold of the certificate in the required timeframes, we would say set up the trial because it gives you coverage. So that will be coming online in the next hour and a half. Alternatively, you can go and set up a standard trial for ScreenConnect at screenconnect.com/trial. And then we will work with the teams in the background to do the right mapping across. The second piece then is once you've got the trial set up, to your point, we do have a document which allows you step-by-step instructions on how to set up that new instance and migrate information across. Typically, obviously, it depends on the size of your environment, but typically that effort is under a couple of hours. So it's not an overly onerous process, okay?
Thanks, Kieran. Next one, the timeline is really short. Is there a stopgap solution to extend the ConnectWise code signing certificate?
So I can take that one. So the first piece, and I could see someone else, I think it was Perry, put in the chat around why are you giving us such a short time period? And the honest answer to that is we are being given, or governed, I should say, by timelines outside of our control. So that timeline and drop dead is currently Monday, the 7th of July at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, which I believe is 12 p.m. Eastern Time. What will happen post that time, if steps aren't taken, is the software will still work. It will just become untrusted, which obviously will cause a pop-up for the end users to say that it's obviously untrusted, and then AVs may step in and quarantine those files. So that's what will happen. The step to buy more time, as I said, is we are making that trial available to you. So you will be able to use the trial. As I said, if you're an Automate customer, we've set it up so that it matches all of your on-premise automating features. And again, you can use that as a stopgap and then go back once you've got your certificate if you so wish.
Thanks, Kieran. Next question. Is there a time frame for when the customization...
For that. So if your customers are running Windows in secure mode, Windows S mode, untrusted and unsigned applications simply won't run. Okay, just...
Thank you for that, David. So the next question, is there a time frame for when customizations will return? This is significantly impactful to us.
The short answer to that is no. As David said, we are working on it as a priority. We've obviously got data in the background around the most commonly used customizations, so we are prioritizing them with a view of getting them turned back on as quickly as possible. But given where we are, we've got to make sure that we're acting in a secure manner, so not to impact customers any more than we are having to today, unfortunately. So the answer is quickly, but no firm timeline.
Okay. Staying on the same topic of customizations, when would we see the customization removed for our landing page and the agents? And will the agent customization only affect new installs or all agents in the environment?
It should start to update. Well, those that are in what we call hosted RMM, which is our Automate cloud, that's already started rolling out. Started going out last night. It will go out throughout this evening as well, and to the other regions. So you should start seeing that. And as those agents get updated, then those customizations will go back to defaults. The ScreenConnect cloud, Kira and I were just talking about before this. We wanted to get through a lot of the on-prem and the hosted RMM cloud for Automate, and then we'll start looking at the ScreenConnect this weekend and early next week.
If we are using Active Directory to authenticate, how does that affect us if we migrate to the cloud? Kieran, is that something you can, or Jeff?
Jeff will take that
No,
one.
go ahead, Kieran.
No, I'll let you go. You were so desperate to answer it, I could tell.
No, I was actually asking him to repeat it. I heard my internet blipped on me.
Sorry about that. I can repeat it. If we are using Active Directory to authenticate, how does that affect us if we migrate to the cloud?
For ScreenConnect in the cloud, still supports Active Directory, either through our own SSO or direct. So should not be an issue.
Can we provide specific examples of customizations that will no longer be available?
Yes, I can do that. So there's 21 in total. The most common ones are changing the systray icon for your own branding, changing the background, and then changing the text box welcome message for a support session. They're the top three.
Okay. Thank you.
And obviously it goes without saying the reason we're taking them out is because in the scenario where somebody has compromised an instance, there are obviously, as Jeff said earlier on, well-known scams where people will put up different icons of well-known companies or welcome backgrounds with those companies' names and messages as a way of social engineering. So that's why we've taken them out. And we're obviously looking at options to reintroduce the key features as quickly as possible, but we need to do it in a safe and controlled manner.
Next question, why not support Azure Trusted Signing rather than the Azure Premium Key Vault? Anyone address that one?
Yeah. David actually is the one who brought this up for us the other day. It's just our comfort level with it. David or Jason Ferguson could speak to it more, but we did look at it. It probably would work, but we haven't personally tested it yet. David or Ferg, anything else?
Yeah, I mean,
we believe it'll work. Like Jeff said, we haven't tested it, so it's not built into our signing extension to support it. But certainly getting a cert from the Azure Trusted Cert program should work. We will validate that and come back, but that should work. And yes, we are aware that they actually have a fairly low cost for doing this, especially for folks that require a certificate for a limited number of signings. It's a very low cost alternative.
Thank you. Jason, you want to add anything there? Okay. Next question. So we are cloud, so we can't sign up with Azure yet because the code signing extension does not work with 25.4.20. Is that correct?
The new code signing would be attached to the new build that is coming out the door. So you need to be on that build of our ScreenConnect.
which is 25.4.25. So that's why it's not working if they're on 20.
Okay. I believe they were specifically saying they're cloud.
So for cloud, we haven't made the, sorry, Joe, I thought you said they were on premise. So for cloud, so if people didn't hear that, we are not making the cloud version available yet. It's currently in testing. And the reason for that is we didn't want to deploy it over the 4th of July. So we're going to plan to do it early next week. We don't have the same drop dead date for the code signing certificate, which is why we're taking a little bit more time there so we can spend more time supporting the on-premise partners.
Thank you.
There's a related question to self-signing. This came up the other day as well. I just want to make sure we answer that. It says, what happens if we already configured a self-signed certificate? As you guys are probably aware, self-signed certificates are meant for development and testing. They're inherently not secure. As a matter of fact, by default, Windows S does not support it unless it's explicitly trusted as part of the trusted root certificate. However, self-signed certificates are not authenticated. They're not validated, which means they're inherently flawed in terms of security. We do not recommend self-signed certificates. And again, based on the version of Windows and certainly within browsers, you will receive alerts and notifications around self-signed certificates. It is not a path we recommend.
Thank you. Next question. We are a highly regulated environment and we cannot use cloud. Is there another stopgap solution for us?
Yeah, our cloud is sort of the quick option in there to go. It would be to try to get the certificate signed for the on-premise solution. So if you're having any issues with getting that set up, please contact our support team and we'll do our best to try to assist you.
Next question. Do you know if this same issue is affecting other RMM remote access software vendors as well?
Well, I'll start, and I'm sure David probably has a couple other ideas on this, but this started off a lot around the code signing and the way that buffer was used. And the conversations that we've had as of late with the different security researchers and our CA and others has sort of transitioned a bit more into like we need to work together to stop malicious actors. Remote control tools and anything like this where you can remotely connect into computers sets itself up to be misused. And so I would assume that this entire industry is looking around going, we need to make sure that we are securing and locking this stuff down the best that we can. So I think you'll see others react to some of the same situations that we are over time.
Yeah, I agree, Jeff. I don't know of specific vendors that have a product such as ScreenConnect that were using the same customizations, but I can tell you for a fact that I used to work for another security company that actually had the same identical approach to providing customizations at the time of install. They have since removed it as well, but this used to be common practice for a lot of people doing it, and especially providing customizations at the time of install. It is particularly potentially malicious for a product such as ScreenConnect, given that it allows a remote threat actor to set up environments and gain access directly to your computer. So for this particular type of product, it is somewhat critical for us to eliminate those types of opportunities, and that's what we have done. But we are not the only ones in the industry that provided customization at the time of install. But as Jeff pointed out, I suspect you're going to see those changes happen.
Thank you. Regarding customizations, can we describe what the end clients or end users will see once these changes take effect and the customizations are removed? Particularly, how is their experience going to change respective of icons and user experience? Kieran, is that something you can talk through?
Yes, I was just trying to come off mute. So everyone will be returned to a standard customization. We are trying to clean that UI and UX up. So come Monday, it will just go back to the plain ScreenConnect branded. The team are making some changes as well as a stopgap to try and improve that UI UX further and just keep it super simple for the end users. We are conscious of the fact that a number of our partners may have built operating procedures and manuals off those customizations. So we will be making all of that documentation available just so we're informing both the end users and the technicians who are serving them how it will look and how it will change in the coming days and weeks. Ultimately, as I said earlier on, our aim is to get most of the customizations where required back to where they are. Okay, so there will be more, so please stay tuned on that.
Thank you, Kieran. Similar to that, once those options start to come back, or if they come back, what do we need to do to reapply some of those customizations? Do we need to go in and manually do each one, or what would that look like?
We're currently working through those mechanisms in more detail. The idea that we would like to pursue is obviously have it available as a fix where we automatically make certain capabilities available with a kind of toggle on to make it as simple as possible, but that is still under review because the design work we're currently doing is how we better authenticate and identify partners ahead of making those customizations available. And I think just to kind of build on one of the other questions that was asked, which was around, bad actors were previously potentially customizing and using features that were made for good intentions in a negative way. That's why we're kind of going back to standardizing them currently and kind of making it clean with the intent of ultimately allowing you to put your brand on things, but doing it in a secure manner. So the way we're going to do that is to identify you and then ultimately look to allow you to switch on those capabilities in a seamless manner, or as seamless as possible, I should say.
Thank you. Next question. Is there a cost to convert the on-prem ScreenConnect included with Automate to the cloud?
I can take that. So if you're an Automate customer, there is a ScreenConnect license included in your Automate license today. So in effect, that means that you will not have a cost of moving to the cloud. So that's the short answer there. If you decide that you want to add on features that aren't included in that Automate license, so a good example is View, then that would incur a cost. But no, if you are going like for like, there is no cost in moving across to the cloud.
Thank you. Next question. Can you have a dedicated support contact for the weekend? I think I can answer that one. We have a number of support contacts that are going to be available 24/7 as we work through this, especially over the weekend to assist. So we'll talk about reaching out to support towards the end of the presentation. But yeah, we're definitely going to have all hands on deck to assist. Next question. How will ScreenConnect installations on the hosted RMM servers for Automate partners be handled?
I can answer that. So hosted and RMM are more akin from a behavior perspective to the cloud. The difference is obviously they were using that on-prem certification. So we are making updates to them. So the North American partners have already been done. The APAC and EMEA partners are going to follow in the next few hours. So they will all be done by early tomorrow morning.
Thank you. Okay.
Joe, just because I saw something come up around extended auditing. So no, extended auditing would not incur an additional cost in the cloud. It's something that's included in your Automate base license. So it will go across without cost there. I just saw that one pop up, sorry.
Thank you. Next question, what Azure plan what Azure subscription plan is required so that we can create an RSA HSM certificate?
It's the premium one that costs $1 a month. So I can see there's a couple of questions around, I think Michael Stance is asking two types of code signing certificates. Let me start there. You can use either the EV or the OV code signing certificate, and you can get that off all of the major vendors. Some of them are offering discounts. I think SSL and DigiCert are offering certificates. So that's who you can get those certificates off. Obviously, for those that aren't aware, EV requires some more validation, so it takes slightly longer, but either should work. And then once you've got those code signing certificates for Azure, you need to set up your key vault, and it's the premium plan, which is $1 per month. There's then a cost per query. I think it's 3 cents per 10,000 calls, but the call volume is going to be done per release, so it is very low. It should be under $1 per month. Okay.
Thank you. Next question. Do we need to wait until we have the code signing cert to install the latest version of ScreenConnect on-prem?
I would recommend that you get your code signing certificate first, because what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go to the downloads page, which you'll have to enter your license key in. Be aware that if you're on an Automate only license, there's a little nuance, so we've put a document together for that. But once you then download the on-premise version, you will have to go to the code signing extension, which I believe is 1.0.4, and put your code signing certificate in. So it is best if you have the cert before you do that.
Thank you. Next question. How long will it take to move to this the 14-day cloud trial?
So to answer that, anyone can stand up a trial today at screenconnect.com/trial. So it takes 2 minutes to provision. The thing that I would tell everybody is, because you are most likely already enrolled to our single sign-on validation, when you're setting up that trial, use a different email address and domain. Okay. So even if you have to prefix your existing one with a +1, that will work. But just be aware that you should sign up with a different email address. The actual provisioning of the trial takes under 2 minutes, so it's very quick. To be super clear for the Automate customers, we are making available a separate trial form, which will have some additional capability and features in the back to match the Automate on-premise stuff. So that's why I'm saying there are 2 different forms. The Automate one will be made available within the next hour or so. So stay tuned for that. But to answer your question, Joe, it's a couple of minutes to sign up.
Okay. Thank you, Kieran. And another question on customizations. Will existing customizations be saved anywhere for us to retrieve when they might be made available again?
I think Kieran hit that a couple of times, but as we've disabled and went back to the default customizations, some of these things will still potentially be available inside of the system. Others will probably be removed. It was a quick move and shift on this, so we'll provide more insights and information on that as we do some more testing as to what may or may not still be available.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. And that is our questions for today. I want to thank you. I want to thank everyone here, all of our presenters for assisting us today and answering questions. As a reminder, we do have a frequently asked questions link at the bottom of the window. Please do check back there. Questions that we didn't get to here, we're going to do our best to add to that frequently asked questions. If you have specific questions that didn't get answered or haven't been directly addressed, please let us know. Contact us in support at connectwise.com/chat. Like I said, we are manning that as much as possible. We're here to assist, and we appreciate your patience as we work with all of you to get through this. So thank you again for your time. We appreciate it, and look out for more updates.